If I have economic energy and I'm storing it in a fiat currency that's hyperinflating, that means that the half-life of the energy is 1 year. If the currency is inflating at the rate of 7% a year, the half-life of the energy is 10 years. What if I wanted the half-life of the energy to be 1,000 years or 10,000 years? How do I conserve energy or how do I propagate energy forever? And Bitcoin is a solution to this problem. Paper money isn't a solution to the problem. Land and buildings aren't really a good solution. Gold isn't a good solution.
Throughout human history, the greatest technologies have had some specific characteristics or attributes that simply set down apart from other lesser technological innovations. These characteristics include radical novelty, relatively fast growth, clarity of use and accessibility, prominent impact, and not to forget, the first rounds of uncertainty and doubt. No technological innovation makes the list of the top innovations if it does not solve at least one crucial problem that affects people of all races, gender, and age groups. There is no doubt that blockchain technology is at the very top as one of the greatest technologies of the past decade. Bitcoin solves the inflation and degradation issues, helping investors to conserve monetary and economical energy longer than any other energy form has done in the past. When you have an energy form that can last for 1,000 or 10,000 years without giving an inch, you know you have something greater than a gold mine on your hands. Bitcoin also solves the transactional problem, which helps investors easily move energy through space and time. This video examines Michael Saylor's views on why Bitcoin is the solution to three of man's great energy problems. The MicroStrategy CEO and co-founder also talks extensively about the superiority of Bitcoin over commodities such as gold, real estate, and most importantly, fiat currencies. Please watch, share, and like the video, as it promises to be a very enlightening one. Enjoy.
I think the biggest problem that we face as a civilization is conservation of energy. How do I conserve energy over time? And that's the inflation and the degradation problem. A secondary issue is how do you move energy through space? The transactional problem. That's kind of tactical, but the strategic issue is what's the half-life of your energy, right? If I give you food in a container and it's good for like a day, well, you got to eat it in a day. How do you store food for a decade? It's a challenge, right? And if I give you energy and the half-life of the energy is 3 years, then you can only plan with a 3-year time horizon. I think when you have energy in the form of money, right? Money is monetary energy, it's economic energy. So if I have economic energy and I'm storing it in a fiat currency that's hyperinflating, that means that the half-life of the energy is 1 year. If the currency is inflating at the rate of 7% a year, the half-life of the energy is 10 years. If I put that money into gold and gold's inflating at 2% a year, the half-life of the energy is 35 years. If I put the money into a building and the building has a useful life of 100 years, that's long. I mean, no building will probably last 100 years without serious maintenance, but let's just plug it in just for grins. Well, so the half-life of the energy is 50 years. In 100 years, the building's gone. So what if I wanted the half-life of the energy to be 1,000 years or 10,000 years? How do I make something last forever? That fundamentally, the real issue with the human race is how do I make something last forever? How do I achieve immortal life? How do I conserve energy or how do I propagate energy forever? And Bitcoin is a solution to this problem. Paper money isn't a solution to the problem. Land and buildings aren't really a good solution. Gold isn't a good solution. And so I do think it's the idea that you can capture a set of energy and hold it forever, right, is a profound idea. And you can, it's not so different than saying, what if I wanted to build a city and I told you that the rock you're building the city on was only going to sink at 1 foot a decade? Okay, well, if Venice was sinking at 1 foot a decade, where does that leave us? Now, 1 foot, 100 years? is still a bit of a problem. I mean, you lose 2 or 3 feet over 300 years and you're underwater in some places. So I really need something that's not going to deflect. It's not going to move, not 1 inch in 100 years, right? And if we look at things that advance the human race, steel's an example of a low deflection form of metallic energy. The difference between building a building with steel and building a building with clay or wood, right? Or, fill in the blank, right? Some other material, it's pretty profound. And building a city on granite or schist versus sand or swampland is pretty profound. Building an economic system, a company, a country, an institution on Bitcoin, as opposed to on Venezuelan bolivars, right? How long is your company going to last on a currency which is hyperinflating, right? Not 5 years. How long will your company last built on a currency like the US dollar? You said the US dollar lost 99.5% of its value over 80 years. That doesn't work as a foundation, as a balance sheet. And so Bitcoin represents, a liquid, fungible, synthetic asset that you can use to build a balance sheet. If you're a family, a company, a country, you can move it anywhere, right? It doesn't degrade, right? The maintenance cost is lower than any other form of asset. And if you know that you're building on a firm foundation, you can look out 100 years or 1,000 years. And, that's a profound idea.
Concept of Bitcoin in its simplest form, Saylor states that man's history is littered with different points where he had to channel some form of energy for advancement. From gravitational to kinetic, chemical, electric, and nuclear energy, Saylor explains that man is always faced with the need to channel energy correctly for his expansion and continued survival. He adds that every new energy form has always been met with skepticism as people try to grapple with how it would affect their lives. The same issue is currently playing out as the world tries to transition to digital energy. The skepticism is there, but Saylor explains that digital energy is just like other forms of energy, only bigger and better. Listen to the billionaire's phenomenal explanation about what is possibly one of the greatest innovations of our time.
I think education is key. The way I think about Bitcoin is in its purest form, I think of it as digital energy. And if I look out at the history of the human race and the advance of civilization, I think the civilization was advanced by fire, a form of chemical energy, and it's advanced by water, right? Which is a form of gravitational energy when you're channeling gravity through water. And wind, right? We sail the oceans, wind energy. And if you look at the conversion of potential energy to kinetic energy in the form of missiles, right? Advanced the civilization, explosives, another type of chemical energy, electricity, right? Electromagnetic energy, nuclear energy or atomic energy. All of these forms of energy move us forward as a civilization. If you roll the clock back 120 years and you think about the impact of electricity in the society, and you went to everybody that operated a town or a hotel or a building or a ship, and you said, this electricity is really going to have a profound impact on your life. People would have thought, I don't, how do I think about this, right? Is electricity a good thing or a bad thing? Will it burn my house down? Will it shock me? Right? A lot of people die, right? Fires take place. What happens if you have electrical fire on a ship? Big problem, right? So it probably took people 30 years, 40 years before they had absorbed what electricity meant. And you're like, well, I don't want it because it'll be regulated. Well, is regulation of electricity a bad thing or a good thing? It's a thing, right? I mean, you probably can't roll out electricity throughout a city without some regulation. To get a certificate of occupancy on a building, you need to pass a fire inspection, and part of the fire inspection is make sure that the electric wiring is not going to burn the house down. And so electricity was its profound idea, how I move energy efficiently, right? Over wires, over copper, using electromagnetism. But now there's this concept of digital energy, and people think, well, what is it? I don't even believe it is. What? Well, I mean, I could put $1 billion, you know, on one end of the planet, convert $1 billion of fiat currency into $1 billion of Bitcoin, move it to the other end of the planet in an hour, and convert it back into Japanese yen and convert that into electricity and electrocute you with it, or convert it into, you know, mechanical energy, or convert it into cars, or convert it into buildings, right? $1 billion moving over a wire becomes whatever you want it to be. And what is energy? Energy is matter. Matter is energy. There is conservation of energy. Matter is low frequency energy. You slow down energy and you get steel. You know, you speed it up. I set things on fire, you know, I take a piece of wood, looks like matter. I set it on fire and it becomes light and heat. What happened to the wood, right? All of these are just transformations. And the human race really hasn't really had the ability to transform energy into digital form. And once you do it, you realize that it's profound impact on the concept of property. What if I could have digital property? What is property? Property is low frequency money. What is money? Mid frequency energy. If I have $1 billion and hold it for 30 years, it's digital property. If I could put it in a building, then it's physical property. I could put it in a Bitcoin, then it's digital property. What if I speed it up a bit and I pay for your coffee with it? Now it's like digital money. What if I speed it up a lot and I do 100,000 transactions a minute with it? That's digital energy.
This brilliant and simple explanation from one of the most brilliant minds in the space. Let us know how many more Bitcoins you are buying to prepare for that future you want for yourself and your loved ones. Thanks for watching the video. Ensure you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.